Hey guys, it's Danny here, welcome to my channel. Let's discuss top 5 all-court do-it-all rackets. To make my top 5 list I had to set some ground rules, and number 1 is that you don't really know your play style, so you need something versatile that can cover as big ground as possible. I tend to pick rackets that are a bit more specialized in one or different direction, but here we focus on all court game with as big versatility as possible. Rule number 2, you don't know your spec preference, you don't know the specs of your racket, you know nothing about the specs, so you probably need something in the middle, not too light, not too heavy. If you go too light in specs, too light in swing wave, or too low in balance, you might lose tip awareness, awareness of the racket in space, and when you try to execute the technique, the strokes, you feel a little bit unstable with too low specs, so you need something in the middle. Okay, another rule, let's imagine you're quite an athletic guy, or you're coming from a different sport, so you already know how to be dedicated to something, how to stay focused, you're eager to learn, and you're humble but hungry. And yes, the last rule is kinda associated with the previous rule. In general, you want to be competitive, you want to win, you want something easy so you can learn the basics with, so the floor is low, but the ceiling is high as well. So in theory, you can be an amateur player and grow with the racket up to professional player. So the racket in general must be very versatile, must cover many grounds, many play styles, and many levels of tennis. So let's go to my list, but first, honorable mentions. At number 8 we have Tecnifibre TFight 305S. The reason why it's not in my top 5 is one, the feel is a bit specific. Some players might associate it with a bit stiffer feel. For me, it is a bit more raw, so you feel a bit more the ball, the impact. It is a good and bad thing at the same time. So it takes a specific player for a specific racket. So yeah, TFight 305S is a bit more focused. The overall performance is still a bit more on an advanced side, more control than help, forgiveness. I think in general 18-19 string patterns, 18-20 string patterns are a bit more control focused, more advanced, or the play style is a bit more defined with more plow through, more hitting through the ball than spin. So it's not as versatile, but of course in a control-oriented world, TFight 305S is a very versatile racket. I tend to land slightly on this control-oriented side, but still I want something towards spin, forgiveness, power. Here is power and spin, here is control and feel. So I want to go a bit towards this forgiveness, power. It is a very tough thing to do, find this balance, this sweet spot. But yeah, if I had to choose one, I would go probably with the control-oriented rackets. Number 7, it is VCore 98. Regular version, I actually prefer the VCore 98 Tour because the plow-through stability is amazing. VCore 98 is not higher on my list because in stock form I find it a bit unstable. So when you customize the racket, you are pushing the racket towards heavier frames, therefore it will be a bit less versatile, more focused in a target group of players, so that's why it's not higher on my list. Number 6, it is Head Speed Pro. 100 square inches head size, so it screams forgiveness, it screams power, but from the 18-20 string pattern you still get more control than spin potential or power, so it is an interesting mix. In the past, Speed Pro was a bit thinner in beam, and it was kinda the origins of now the racket called Gravity Pro. Yeah, now the Speed Pro is a bit thicker, so it is an interesting mix of power and control. And the reason why it's not higher on my list is because The racket is still more focused in the target group of players. You're more about driving the ball, hitting through the ball. The racket is helping in that play style a lot, but when it comes to this dirty tennis, more spin, playing with angles, it gets a bit tricky because I'm sometimes losing the confidence with the Speed Pro. So the versatility is set in a quite weird way. Like, is it a control-oriented racket or power-oriented racket? For me, it misses a bit of control or spin potential to make it truly a perfect racket, but it is still a great racket with great stability. Another reason why it is not higher on my list is because the swing wave is slightly on a higher side, I would say, so it takes a specific player to use it. So the threshold of entering to the Speed Pro is set a bit higher than the rackets below it actually. So your swing awareness, your technique must be a bit better with the Speed Pro to be able to perform with it. Number 5, it is Het Radical MP, one of the most versatile rackets on the market. It actually comes to my head as first racket. The reason why it is not higher on my list is it lacks something exciting. I'm not really sure what would make this frame a bit better. Maybe a bit more mass, maybe a bit better representation, so you get more inspiration from the ATP or WTA players. However, Radical MP is one of the best rackets to grow with. You can start with it and become a professional player with it, and still with stock specs. So this is one of the best rackets. So let's go to number 4. It is Wilson Blade 1619, and to me it is a bit above the Radical, a bit more. Yeah, you can say it is a bit more focused when it comes to the target group of players, maybe a bit more towards control-oriented rackets. You have to work a bit more with the blade, and to me it is actually a bit better when you have to work a bit more than when the racket is helping you more instead. I think when the racket is quite similar, but one is giving you a bit more control than the other, go with the control. That's my take, I guess. Let's go to number 3. It is Yonex E-Zone 98. Yeah, one of the most popular rackets right now. It is easy to use, it gives a bit more stability and power than the blade. It is a bit more forgiving than the blade, maybe a bit more towards the Radical, but the specs maybe are a bit more professional. But of course, with the top 5, even top 8 rackets that I mentioned, you can be a professional player, no worries. But in performance, it is kinda like a Speed Pro with a bit better connection, control and spin potential, but still your play style should be similar. So yeah, it is a bit risky. It's not as versatile as some rackets. I think with the E-Zone you will be falling a little bit towards this group of flat hitters, hitting more through the court. But with the 98 head size, 16-19 string pattern, you get a bit better spin potential compared to Speed Pro. So that's why it's in my top 5 and top 3. Number 2, it's getting hot here. It is Het Gravity Tour 98. To me, it is an improved Yonex Vicor 98. Constant beam thickness, the feel is more towards control, traditional heads design. I think Het tried to tackle many grounds. They tackled Vicor 98 because the string spacing is quite big. They tackled E-Zone because overall the power potential is still there. Racket can be a bit on a hotter side, maybe because of the design, maybe because of the wider string spacing. Who knows, maybe combination of everything. It is very spin friendly, it gives some power, it gives feel and comfort. So yeah, one of the most versatile rackets on the market. It's not my number 1, maybe because the head's shape is a bit weird. towards a VCore 98. Yeah, it is a gravity, so very forgiving. Maybe I would prefer a bit more stability and maybe less spin potential. I would accept this trade. So we are talking now more about my specific preference rather than the general idea behind the design. Maybe the specs are a bit on a higher side for being a versatile racket. Maybe that's why also I like this frame, because it has some plow through and it is a very solid racket. I think we'll see more and more of this racket in the academies and maybe on the tour. So let's go to number 1. It is Solinco Whiteout 1619. The reason why it is at number 1 is because it covers many grounds. It is similarly control oriented to the blade. It is giving me a bit more spin potential than the blade, more towards VCore 98 or Radical MP. It is quite stable, similarly to the E-Zone 98. If I had to knock it, maybe for my specific needs and preference, I would like something more extreme, like falling in a more specific target group of players, maybe a bit more spin and power, maybe a bit more forgiveness, a bit more of something to drop the racket in a very specific zone, and maybe it covers too many grounds. But the big advantage with the Solinco Whiteout V2 is you can customize it very easily. Solinco has this wave models, +5, +10 grams, stock form, +0 grams. So within one training session you can check 3 different types of specs. It gives you room for your specific needs, your specific play style, or maybe your future play style, your future preference. With most of the rackets you would have to play with lead or leather grip. Leather grip is a bit more messy to work with, and it adds around 10 grams more. So here you can actually be more surgical with the updates, and that's why it is a very versatile frame. You can be an amateur player and you can be a professional player with this racket, and you still have room for customization. Does it mean it is the best racket on the market? No. It is one of the most versatile rackets on the market, and the best racket is the one that gives you wins. So it doesn't matter. For somebody it will be a powerful spin-oriented racket like the VCore 100, E-Zone 100, or maybe for somebody it will be a totally control-oriented racket like a Head Prestige Pro 1820. So it really depends on your playstyle and your vision how you want to play. But if you don't really know what racket you should pick, you're still trying to figure it out, Solinco Whiteout V2, one of the best to start with. So that's it for this top list. Make sure to subscribe because it helps me grow, it helps me a lot, and see you soon. Bye bye.